LeBron James is the all-time oxymoron. If you don't know the term, oxymoron is a contradiction in terms like humble brag, which LeBron does a lot of, or as in LeBrick, as in you're a great LeBron scorer, but you also brick a lot of threes. This has driven me crazy for LeBron's entire career. He has become the all-time leading scorer in the history of professional basketball, and he's yet a lousy three-point shooter, and by his standards, a poor free throw shooter by great standards, to the point that I'm perplexed, I'm astonished, I'm out of my mind over the fact that LeBron can go on an occasional little hot streak from three, but he is susceptible to prolonged slumps and droughts from three, such as the one he's just gone through. So just last year, LeBron astonished me. He had a career year from three, shot 41%. Didn't help him in the playoffs, but 41% during the regular season. And yet, he's a career 34% shooter from three, which ranks all-time 638th, all-time 638th. Well, by all-time great standards, that's just horrible. And of late, he's gone on an all-time career slump in that, let's just take over the last 8 games. The Lakers have lost 6 of them, 4 of those horrendously. LeBron James over the last 8 games is 4 of 34 from three. He just missed 20 straight. And we should have known from his rookie year that it sort of previewed what was coming, because he once missed 24 straight threes during his rookie year. Did you hear about that? Did anybody talk? No, nobody, because he's the chosen one. The media overprotects LeBron because they don't want to run afoul of LeBron. They don't want to get cut off from access by Rich Paul, Maverick Carter. They want to pay homage to LeBron and protect LeBron. He is the most overprotected athlete we've ever seen, because from three, he's just been horrible. 4 of 34 over the last 8 games. That's 12%. That's the biggest reason the Lakers keep getting blown out. So I'm looking at career rank 638th all-time in three-point shooting. Free throw shooting, he's 75%. Remember, Jordan was 84%. So by his all-time standards, he's a poor free throw shooter also. Let's look at career playoff three-point shooting. He's only 33%, yet he's shot the most threes in playoff history. What? Why doesn't anybody talk about this? That's horrendously bad. And 2 years ago in the playoffs, over 2 series, Golden State and Denver, in which they got swept, LeBron James missed 19 straight fourth quarter threes. And of course, against Denver, 4 close games, they lost all 4. He was 1 of 10 from three in the fourth quarter alone. And nobody, I guess, but me, talks about this. This is all-time bad for the all-time greatest player in a lot of people's minds. The GOAT can't shoot. And he's been on a terrible shooting jag that started with the Orlando game. I mentioned this before on my show. Orlando comes to the last shot. They're heavy home favorites. They're on a roll. The play is called for LeBron. He's the first option, and he hides from the basketball. He just sort of drifts into the middle of the floor and doesn't try to go get the ball with 2.5 seconds inbounding on his end. All they needed, they were just down 1. If he just gets it and drives, gets fouled, well, you got to go make the 2 free throws. He's one of the worst late-game free throw shooters in the history of the league, and I can show you that statistically. But I think that night his team lost some faith in him. And from that point on, over the last 8 games, they've had 4 losses that are ascendingly bad. They've lost to Denver by 25, to Phoenix by 27, to Miami by 29, and Minnesota by 29, and then Miami last night by 41. What? This is the worst run of LeBron's career. He's never lost games this badly, this close together. That's 4 out of the last 8 games by 25, 27, 29, and last night 41. Something is very wrong here. And I say it starts with the fact that LeBron is 4 of 34. He just keeps shooting his own team right in the heart. Playoffs, 33 career percent shot, the most ever. And yet, what was the hottest story of the night? Well, he finally broke his streak. He finally made one after he'd missed 20 straight. But all I read last night was the hottest story on ESPN.com was that LeBron passes Kyle Korver for making the 7th most threes in the history of the NBA. Like he's a great three-point shooter. Well, he's taken more than anybody. What do you think is going to happen if you last 22 years and you just shoot that shot more than anybody? So is it time to blame J.J. Redick yet? I can't go there quite yet, but something is missing. They're not responding to him or to the unofficial head coach, LeBron. LeBron coaches this team. I think he likes JJ personally. He defended him to the death last night. He said whatever he said, and he didn't even know what he said. I agree 1,000% because he didn't want any early, because we're not even obviously to Christmas yet. He didn't want any early JJ's got to go because JJ's good for LeBron because JJ does whatever LeBron says. Darvin Ham would not do whatever LeBron said. And I miss Darvin Ham because I think he was pretty good as the Laker coach. They had a great first year under him and had 4 straight chances to beat the team that was on its way to winning the championship, Denver. And again, LeBron in those 4 fourth quarters shot 7 of 23 and 1 of 10 from 3. How can Darvin overcome that? It's not that LeBron is getting old because even last night, he made 12 of 18 shots. He's the greatest 2-point shooter ever because that's the only way you're going to be the greatest NBA scorer ever is, I've said this a million times, he's the greatest driver of the basketball I've ever seen. Not late in games because he shies and runs from the free throw line. But he's still the greatest basket attacker I've ever seen. He is still the greatest passer in the game today. And he's right there rivaling Magic and Stockton as the greatest passers I've ever seen. And maybe by the end, I'll say that LeBron was the greatest passer ever because he's still playing point guard for this team. And he made a couple of passes last night. I said, no other human can do that. His assists are up. His rebounds are up over his career averages. His free throw shooting is slightly up over his career average. So it's not like he's hitting the wall or falling off the cliff. He's just been in one of his horrendous three-point shooting slumps. He is high in turnovers. He's now 5th in the league in turnovers, but that's always going to be the case because he's constantly got the ball in his hands. But I don't see him getting old. I just see him going completely cold for a long stretch that started with him running from the ball against Orlando. I still see him playing at a high level. He just takes too many three-point shots that are crushing his team. The three-point shot has become the equivalent of what the dunk used to be. It's the greatest momentum builder and breaker in the sport. A lot of what we've seen John Morant talk lately about, he just doesn't want to dunk anymore. It's just too dangerous. I think a lot of players think it's just too dangerous. It's lost its shock value, its fan appeal. The dunk contest has become almost prehistoric, archaic, a thing of the past because everybody wants to see the three-point shot. And it can make you or it can break you. And when you go over 8 games, 4 of 34, that's a lot of three-point misses. That's 30 times over the last 8 games that he deflated his team. He deflated his team. He missed again. He missed 20 in a row. It's hard to overcome 20 in a row. And yet it just boggles my mind. This is the greatest scorer ever. And he's a poor, by great standards, three-point shooter. Which brings me to Anthony Davis. Last 2 games, he's had season low 10-point outing, and then last night a season lower 8-point outing. To me, AD is a product of LeBron. AD is a follower, not a leader. Everybody says, well, it's time for him to take the mantle, take the torch, to become the best player on the Lakers. LeBron's been saying that for really 3 years. Yeah, he can be on any given night. He can be the best two-way player in the league on both ends of the floor. But he's not a self-starter. He needs to feed off the leader of the team, his big brother, the player he idolizes like no other, LeBron bleeping James. AD needs LeBron to set the tone for him. And when LeBron is LeBricking threes, it just seems to take the starch and life out of AD, who just last night at Miami, he just sleepwalked the whole game. He played without energy, without urgency, in part because LeBron can't make a three. He finally made one last night late. And while he was still in the game with 9 minutes left of a wipeout game that you're losing, you're going to lose by 41 points, is beyond me. But he's played the 16th most minutes in the NBA, which I think is too high, obviously, as he goes on 40 years of age in year 22. But that's LeBron. He's a stat patter, and he wants to prove he can play all 82 games. And I admire that because he hasn't done it very often. I think he did it, one time that he played all 82? Jordan did that 10 times? 12 times? Yeah. I don't know, Jordan just played. So LeBron's trying to say, well, I can do this. I can show you this. I can do this now. Well, to the detriment of your team, because you probably need to preserve a little bit, especially when you're in such a soul-killing three-point slump. It was funny in that Orlando game, middle of the fourth quarter, when the season turned, LeBron got hot for a moment and made 3 straight threes. It was like at the 7 to 8 minute mark. Bill McDonald, the Lakers play-by-play man, screamed, "Don't you ever, ever, ever doubt LeBron James' clutchness in crunch time. Don't you ever doubt it." I think that was directed straight at me. I'm like, Bill, we're not even close to crunch time yet. And then that happened. That was the last 3 that he made, of course. And he ran from the last shot and hid in the middle of the floor, made AD shoot a contested fall-away three-point shot that missed the rim by 6 feet. That's when it started to go south for these Lakers. The GOAT always needs a scapegoat. That's why Darvin Ham is gone. That's why J.J. Redick is now the coach. But in the end, I ask you, somebody please explain this to me. Tell me I'm wrong about this. How can the GOAT be a lousy three-point and free throw shooter? How can that be? Somebody out there, please explain, because I'm lost.